everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So it's time for the next episode of my series of Old is Better Than New. And in today's video, I thought I would cover this time an example of a movie director whose films, in my opinion, are better in the old than the new out of what I've seen. This is a director that I used to love when it comes to making films, and I used to have respect for, and so I unfortunately lost respect for him in recent times. And that director, what I personally think his old films are better than his new ones, is none other than James Cameron. So, now when it comes, of course, to what his old films mean to me then, so, for starters, I cannot comment on his directorial debut, which is Piranha 2: The Spawning, because I've not seen it, but I've unfortunately not heard good things about that movie, so it looks like I'm dodging a bullet if I don't see it. But I did, however, absolutely love his second film he directed of all time, which is The Terminator, which I have here as a Blu-ray Steelbook. And this, in my opinion, is an absolute masterpiece, and it's definitely, in my opinion, a great horror action film, because technically it is a horror film because it has lots of dark moments in it, which are pretty scary, which helps, of course, allow sci-fi to grow a lot as a genre, absolutely. Just a great film with great characters, like such as The Terminator itself being a great villain, and we've also got amazing character development for the character Sarah Connor as well, absolutely. She's one of my favourite female characters in cinematic history of all time because of this film and its sequel, which I'll be getting to after another film, which I also love by James Cameron, which is another amazing female character. The Terminator, in my opinion, is an absolute masterpiece. On to his third movie, which I've also seen. I also, as well, absolutely love his film Aliens, which is the second film of the Alien franchise. In my opinion, the best Alien movie of all time, and this is how you do an amazing sequel, which is better than the first movie, in my opinion. And it's just a shame, really, that, you know, he doesn't make films as good as Aliens anymore, really. When it comes, of course, like sci-fi movies, is really because Aliens, in my opinion, is an absolute masterpiece, the best Alien movie of all time to me. And also so how you portray a character perfectly, in this case being Ellen Ripley, who is also one of my favourite female characters in cinematic history as well. Because I think she and Sarah Connor are proof that you can have female characters who are fantastically written and not poorly written, like in recent times, of course. Because those characters, in my opinion, are fantastic. Just amazing to watch in these films. Just love those characters. And then on to what is, in my opinion, Cameron's best movie of all time, which is also, in my opinion, the greatest action film ever made, which is Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Like, this is one of my favourite films of all time. I love everything about this movie. It's an absolute masterpiece. Like, to me, the best action movie ever made, and one of the best films ever made in general. Like, a phenomenal film from start to finish. I mean, if you guys want to see me showing nothing but pure love for the first two Terminator films, go check out my reviews for them. But Terminator 2, in my opinion, is just flawless in every way. Just a beautiful masterpiece of a movie. In my opinion, the best one, in my opinion, absolutely, out of the Terminator franchise. And to me, the best action movie of all time as well. And that film is just how you develop characters as well. Such as Sarah Connor, for example. And it's how you portray characters so well. And how you do great storytelling as well. And when it comes to other films I've also seen by James Cameron, which I unfortunately don't own, I've already mentioned I've not seen Piranha 2, so I of course don't own that, but in between Aliens and Terminator 2, I did also as well love The Abyss as well. I thought that was a great movie as well. And when I watched it as well, I think it was like a couple of years ago now, I was pretty appalled that he goes for making a film great like The Abyss to what we get nowadays from James Cameron. I was very appalled because The Abyss, in my opinion, is great. And I also as well say that, in my opinion, James Cameron's last good movie for me is none other than 1994's True Lies. As far as I'm concerned, that's his last good film he ever made. Because I thought it was really good. I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. And then again, he's an awesome guy, and I love him in his film for action star of all time. I loved him in True Lies, and it was, in my opinion, a lot of fun. A really good movie, in my opinion, the last good one, because now we start to get to why, in my opinion, James Cameron's career has really gone downhill when it comes to my opinion of his films. Because 3 years later, he directed a biopic about the Titanic disaster. And that, of course, was the film Titanic. Which is probably, in my opinion, his worst film I've ever seen. I've only seen that film once, guys, and never again, because I watched it once and I was so bored I nearly fell asleep because I thought it was terrible, in my opinion. It was boring as hell, in my opinion, and dreadfully paced as well. And I must also say that, in my opinion, it's an absolute disgrace to a real-life disaster and very disrespectful to what happened. Like, I just think the film is absolutely stupid, in my opinion, just very disrespectful to what really happened, and I'll definitely say it's Cameron's worst movie. But then, despite me hating this film, his career of making films is not even over, because after this, he directed his next film 12 years later, which is a film which I personally think is overrated as hell, and is an example of a film I hate that people like. Then again, a lot of my friends also are not a fan of this movie either, and you know what, rightfully so, because I'm not a fan either, because I personally hate this movie. And that, of course, is none other than 2009's Avatar. And I've also only seen this film once, guys, and never again, because compared to the acclaim that the film got when it was released, I'm one of those people that actually thought it was boring as hell. And not to mention, I also absolutely hated the character Jake Sully. In my opinion, he's one of the most unlikable characters I've ever had the misfortune of watching in my life. Like, why is it that the characters like Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, even the Terminator in Terminator 2 are much more likable than him? Like, why is that? By my opinion, it's just ridiculous. Even a robot being more likable than Jake Sully, like, goodness me. And the film's main characters, in my opinion, are so insufferable, including Jake, that I was actually rooting for the villains to win, because the only character that I liked in the film, guys, was the villain Miles Quaritch, played by Stephen Lang. He was literally the only part of Avatar that I liked. He was actually the character I was rooting for to win, but sadly, of course, he got defeated at the end, which really sucked. And not to mention, and as well, on more inspection of a movie when I've seen other films in my life, I've noticed similarities to other films which it's nicked ideas from, such as, for example, Brother Bear, Pocahontas, Fern Gully. And in my opinion, that's just stupid and unoriginal. Like, because one thing that I think makes Cameron's old films stand out that I've seen is that they're original and they have, like, original ideas and concepts, which in my opinion are done really well. Like, why is it that nowadays he's copying other films? That's, in my opinion, a dumb move. So, yeah, I personally hate Avatar, guys. In my opinion, it's overrated as hell. And I'm one of those people that actually hates that film. I mean, if you guys like it, then I'm happy that you guys like it. But for me personally, I hate it. Like, I just can't stand that film whatsoever. Like, it's a film where I root for villains to win, and that's just disappointing for me, because you're supposed to root for heroes to win, not villains. And I just really think the film is dreadful, in my opinion, just boring as hell, and I just couldn't care less about it. Because the only things I liked about it was, of course, Quaritch the villain, and also the soundtrack by James Horner, may he rest in peace. And that's all about it, really. So screw that all the way, and screw Titanic, which is, in my opinion, Cameron's worst, because it was disrespectful. But despite me not being a fan of Avatar, Cameron's career is also still not over, because he then began to make sequels to Avatar, but they've taken ages to make, and because I was not a fan of Avatar, I was not interested whatsoever in watching these sequels, so that is why I did not see the first of these sequels being Avatar: The Way of Water, which was released a couple of years ago in 2022 after a very long gap between that and the first movie. So, I did not even hear good things about this sequel, so it looks like I dodged a bullet by avoiding Avatar: Way of Water, because several of people that I know on YouTube have seen it, and they didn't like it, and you know what, rightfully so, because based on what I've heard about it, I'm very disappointed that Cameron's not improved whatsoever, and he's making even more films after this in the next years to come, and I quite frankly do not care whatsoever. And he's even, of course, making them with long release date gaps for some reason, which I think is ridiculous. Like, because apparently he's completed filming a third Avatar film, so why couldn't he release it now? You see what I mean? Like, I just think it's ridiculous how he's taking so long to make them, and as a result of this, many people are starting to lose interest, and you know what, rightfully so. Because it happens when, of course, films have long gaps between their films. So, all I can say is I have no interest whatsoever in watching his Avatar sequels, because I was not a fan of the first movie. When it comes to of course, Cameron's films, I'm only going to stick to the ones I actually do love by him, and that's it. Which, of course, is for me, The Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, my favourite film by him, my favourite action movie of all time, T2 Judgment Day, and True Lies. Those, in my opinion, were he was at his prime, as far as I'm concerned. And I like to pretend he only made those films. And if you guys were to ask me, will I watch Piranha 2? I am personally not really interested, to be completely honest, because I didn't hear good things about it, so I'm not really interested, so I'll stick to films by him that I love, and that's it. But in my opinion, he's lost his touch, and I don't really care to watch his films. And I also lost respect for him as well when it comes to him being a writer too, because he criticised how in Alien 3, of course, they kill pulled off Ripley's friends, of course, from Aliens being, of course, Newt and Hicks. Yet, in Terminator Dark Fate, which he wrote, he allowed them to kill off John Connor at the start of him, giving him the same cliche that Newt and Hicks got. So that made him an absolute hypocrite, how he criticised one film, but he used that same cliche in a film that he wrote. My goodness me. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely despise Terminator Dark Fate. And I also was even more respectful when he also criticised testosterone, calling it a poison. But testosterone is not a poison. It's a very important hormone for the human body. It's not a poison at all. So that, in my opinion, was just stupid from James Cameron right there. Like, I just think he's talking rubbish nowadays. And I quite frankly couldn't care less about his career. I'll stick to his good films. So, anyway, guys, this is me doing the next episode of Old is Better Than New, where I was saying why, in my opinion, James Cameron's films, in my opinion, are better in Old than the New from what I've seen of them. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let us know in the comments what you guys think of James Cameron's films. Do you think his old films better than his new ones? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and become in the future. And I'll see you all later.